Hello and welcome to the Grand Cinema Hotel, a podcast hosted by three friends who love cinema. I'm Oliver and I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Gus and Nate. Tonight you'll be staying in room 137, The Wailing, the South Korean horror film directed by Na Hong-jins. So go ahead, get comfortable, and throw on that do not disturb sign as we investigate The Wailing.
What's going on, all you wicked spirits? Thanks for checking back into the Grand Cinema Hotel. As always, if you're listening on YouTube, smash all of the buttons, leave us a little comment, tell us what you think. If you listen on any of the other podcast listening apps, subscribe for notifications so you get let know when we drop a new video, which takes us into the final film of our horror movie Elite 8 bracket. And this film actually ended up winning the entire thing. Yeah, right? Well, congratulations. And this film is the South Korean The Wailing. Absolutely phenomenal film, I think. Had a lot of fun rewatching this for this episode. What do you want to talk about the first time that we saw this?
I saw this film with you. I think you showed me this film for the first time. Completely blown away the first time that I saw it. And I mean, I didn't even know how long it was the first time that we saw it, so I was just in it for the ride. And the pacing of this film just stood out to me from the get-go because it's just, I was just blown away, honestly. I just really like this movie, and it's like the third time that I rewatched it. And yeah, it almost gets better every single time.
I saw this movie because Alvaro had told me that, my friend Nate showed me this movie called The Wailing, so I was like, all right, let me check it out. And I think I watched it maybe like a week or two after we had met, because you had brought it up again. So I was like, okay, let me see what this is all about. And so this film for me is kind of like an introduction into what you like about movies.
I can dig it, yeah.
Right? So it's this, and I Saw the Devil.
It's like reverse from The Empty Man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's when you started showing me movies that you like. So then I was like, this guy's kind of weird, Alvaro. I don't know, bro. Like, all these movies have some really fucked up shit in it, and he's telling me this is the best stuff.
This is the best. No, yeah. I saw this movie like kind of during lockdown. I just was on a big South Korean movie kick.
What's lockdown?
Have you ever heard of this little thing called COVID?
Yeah.
Yeah, remember that? But no, I was just on a big like South Korean movie kick, and I was looking for some, good recommendations. I think I saw it on Reddit, honestly, and I was like, you know what, whatever, I'll check it out. And yeah, I was blown away. There really is just something about like South Korean horror films, like their ability to tell stories and the way that they present the story to you. Like that's what I really love about this movie. I know we're going to get into it, but this is really one of like a personal favorite of mine. Like this is probably my top 20 for sure. But no, I really love this movie.
I think what works too for like South Korean or like Asian films in general is like you kind of know that their culture is a lot more strict. So it does seem like when somebody is really like what's the word, like just evil, it seems like it'd be the utmost of evil, like you really have to go out of your way to really like, because being seen even disrespectful or not as valuable in those countries kind of means more than it does here. So I kind of feel like really going out of your way to be like a quote unquote like piece of shit is like you're like the top of evil. And I feel like a lot of the movies kind of depict that like weird or unforgivable type of like evilness.
Yeah, I would agree, because they do have like a really big emphasis on community and
that's
society.
what I mean.
And so when evil happens,
it's like here we're like more individualistic, so it kind of makes sense when somebody goes off the rails. But over there, it kind of seems like, or in a lot of those cultures, like it would take a lot for you to, or you're just really fucked up.
True.
Yeah, the first time I saw this, I don't think it probably was similar to how you saw this the first time, Nate. Since you said you saw it on Reddit, were you expecting this to be like this level of prestige filmmaking? You know what I mean? Like,
I
didn't have any clue that it was going to be like so good. I mean, this is a generalization, so sorry if this is offensive, but when I see South Korean movies, this is a positive generalization. When I know a movie South Korean, I'm like, it's probably going to be pretty good.
Yeah, no, exactly. I'm like, okay, this is going to be...
Again, I mean, no offense by that, but I'm just saying it. Usually, when I hear South Korean movies, I'm like, I already feel like I'm in good hands.
There was a reason why even the Academy was like, no, Parasite is the best movie of the year, period, not just international.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, when I first saw this, like I didn't read a whole lot about what this movie really was about. Like I kind of knew it had to do with investigations about a murder. Like, all right, you know, interesting. Like, we'll line that up. But and anytime, like, I don't know, you find movies like, you know, on Reddit and stuff like that, it's a kind of a shot in the dark. And a lot of the movies I've seen are like, I enjoy like November and like Hargasusa and stuff like that. Like, I really do enjoy those movies, but they're not expert films. So then just to all of a sudden throw this on and been like, holy fuck, like, how have I not heard about this until now? Like, I really had to go out and search for it. So yeah, no, this movie it's a really special movie, I think.
How do we feel? I mean, obviously we picked it, but how do you feel now that you've had time to think about it, that it actually won? Like, are we actually calling this the scariest movie of all time, or that's not?
Well, I mean, I think obviously, no, I don't think we're trying to say that. Just, I mean, it's a bracket, you know what I mean? So certain movies got put against certain others, and others made it through that might have not made it through if they're on a different side of the bracket. Yeah. So for this to win, I mean, I don't think it necessarily proves that it's the scariest movie ever. And I'm not going to say that it is the scariest movie ever. It does hit me at my core. Like, it is pretty unsettling. And it really executes well on that. But I think that the reason why this movie probably won on this list and this bracket that we had is because of its expert, you know, filmmaking as in general.
So what I've come to grips with is that, okay, I don't think this is the scariest movie on this list. And when the bracket was being done, I feel like I just kind of let this one go. I was like, you know, that's fine. I understand, right? Even though it's not what I thought should have won. But now that I've had a time to rewatch it again, I just think it's honestly the best movie on this list.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like, even without all the supernatural horror, like the quality of every single aspect, the music, the direction, the cinematography, the writing, just everything about this movie is like A1 top tier SS plus.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, exactly. Like, I really do think so too.
So yeah, I will agree that I don't think it's the scariest movie on this list. I don't even think the actual scariest movie of all time was on these lists, because for me it's Hereditary. Right?
Okay, yeah.
Because it's a personal choice, obviously, but I do think that this movie is probably like one of the all-time great movies, like even without being boxed in by a genre.
I think it's kind of like the same conversation that we had when we talked about Silence of the Lambs, about how it is just this phenomenal movie that happens to be, you know, a horror or a thriller, whatever you want to classify it as. But I do think that this movie leans heavy into the horror aspect of things when it does. But it doesn't do it all the time, you know?
I feel like it's so good that my opinion, it trumps my opinion. And I don't feel that way about a lot of movies. But this is one of those movies where it's like, yeah, okay, maybe I liked one of the other movies on this list more. But I would never sit here and be like, it's because it's actually better than The Wailing. I'd always be like, no, The Wailing is a much better film than pretty much everything on this list.
The Malignant, fair enough.
That's what I was gonna say. Any of them, honestly. Like, even
I
something
agree.
like The Thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm pretty sure The Wailing is better than The Thing.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I think that's what you can probably say, that it's the best horror movie on the bracket, though. You know what I mean? Or at least in the top two. Like, obviously, we could have our own different opinion on which one, but it does seem to be the best written story, or the best story of the horror movies, and the best executed. And like you said, it's everything to a T. But it also has to do with the fact that the approach that I think the South Korean kind of like a point of view applies to the like the horror aspect, which is kind of unique compared to all of the rest that are on there, you know. And I think in a way, just, I don't want to say elevate, because that's not fair to the other movies, but it surpasses, like you guys are saying, the horror genre. It just is a really, really good movie.
Yeah,
It's a mind bender.
It is.
Bro.
And when we did this bracket, I really didn't pick it to win, but then when it did, I was like, yeah, like, that makes sense to me. It does.
Do you feel like it's a choice you didn't realize you were going to make until it was in front of you?
Exactly. And I was like, how could I not? Like, indubitably.
Because
indubitably, good sir.
I think subconscious for me, I thought The Exorcist was going to win.
Yeah.
Like,
I kind of thought that, The Thing, maybe Silence of the Lambs. Like, that's
that's where it was going. But then same thing as you, because I look back at it, but it just has to do just the same thing with March Madness. It's just the seeding that it was in. It's just the ones that it was going against. It's like, I forgot, it was
and
like
it wasn't
really
a number one seed either.
Yeah.
That was the other thing. So it wasn't so obvious, because it probably should have been, but, you know. If you're mad about it, hit me up.
Yeah, exactly. We will talk.
I'm the one to put it together. So whatever, make your own bracket.
But regardless, I mean, we kind of talked about how those 8. We just kind of did the winner thing because we wanted to keep the episode going. But these 8 are kind of equal in a way. Obviously, there's some give or take that we like less or more of, but this is a reason why we thought all 8 of these were better than the rest.
Yeah,
and we're here talking about.
There's a reason why we talked about all 8 of them.
Exactly, all of them equally got their episode. So obviously, you know.
So what I found interesting about this movie when I was doing my small amount of research that I've done, this movie I would say confuses me, even though I know what happens. But I like that idea, and I like feeling that way even post movie, where I'm like, I don't want to know too much because it's something I just like thinking about so much and viewing all the different small details that when I think about them later, like 2 hours after I'm watching the movie, I'm like, oh, duh, that's what happened.
Because this movie is anything but heavy-handed, I feel like. This movie really leans into the fact that, yeah, like you said, you're not really going to know everything until it ends, and then you're still going to have questions.
It's for sure a puzzle.
It is. And, like, I feel like, I don't know, like, after seeing it a bunch of times, like, I feel like I know what it's going for and what really happens, but then reading people's, online like conversations or reviews of it, like some people have they've taken totally different things away and they make valid points. So
I do think the movie's trying to be ambiguous as much as possible, even though it gives a concrete answer at the end. But I think that's the main component of this entire dish. You know what I mean? Like we were talking about in another episode, like making a stew when you make a movie, and it's like the stock of this movie is the ambiguity. Like all of it is everything you're throwing in the pot is gonna get touched by, was it that way or wait, was it this way?
And one of the ways I think the film really capitalizes on the ambiguity, like in the mystery side of it, is the way that it's edited.
Yeah.
Like in what they choose to show you and what they don't choose to show you and what they choose to show you at the same time, to make you think that maybe that these two things are correlated, but in reality they're not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
you're probably the expert on this movie out of the 3 of us. So, do you want to lead us through this? Where do you want to start?
I mean, I guess you want to start from the beginning, or we'll kind of lay out the foundation for what's going on. Let's
do the foundation, and then from there we'll bring in all the different aspects.
I'll read a little synopsis that I have. So yeah, The Wailing. Soon after a stranger arrives in a little village, a mysterious sickness starts spreading. A policeman drawn into the incident is forced to solve the mystery in order to save his daughter. So, I mean, even right there, like you're not given too much about what really happens in the film, but it's a small rural town somewhere in South Korea. And there's murders and there's like a sickness spreading, and it basically starts with this policeman that's investigating everything, and nobody really knows what's going on. And it's kind of like peppered in throughout the whole movie that there might be this poisonous mushroom that is like releasing spores that's infecting people. So that's already something that kind of like subverts what you think might be going on. And then we get the introduction to what ends up being our antagonist, which is what they refer to him as the Japanese man, who, like they said, a stranger comes to town. Nobody really knows anything about him, but at the beginning of the movie, like we see him assault a woman. And then we just kind of see him on the outskirts and always around like these bad things that are happening. So it's kind of where the movie starts.
I did find it interesting that it starts with the Bible quote. The movie starts with the Bible quote, which is like Luke 24:37-39. I am going to read them because I don't even know the top of my head. I had to look it up.
Careful, you don't want to catch on fire reading that thing.
They were startled and frightened, thinking they saw a ghost. He said to them, "Why are you troubled, and why do doubts rise in your minds? Look at my hands and my feet. It is I myself. Touch me and see. A ghost does not have flesh and bones as you see I have." Which I just think, obviously, if you're going to start the movie with that quote, it's going to be an overarching message that you need to resonate with you. And the following thing is we actually get an introduction to the Japanese guy before we know any characters in the movie.
And I think it's key in what he's actually doing too. He's fishing.
Yeah, and I mean, later in the movie we kind of get the actual, like, they say it actually, like, to tying in. But yeah, he's hooking a worm on because he's fishing. And then we get our intro or we get like the title card, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. The first 15 minutes of this movie is ambitious, bold, big. It's taking a lot of chances, and it sets up like 4 or 5 things.
It does.
Right? So we have the Japanese man assaulting the woman, right? And then, like you said, it gives us our first glimpse at the theme of like fishing, right? And like just you never know what you're gonna catch.
Exactly.
Right? And then we get what else? We see a murder, right? Okay, so our protagonist, his name is Jong-gu. He's a cop, and he's woken up like abruptly in the middle of the night, and he's told that there's a murder, and you know, we see him and his family, and that they are pivotal to this movie, especially his daughter. Her name's Hyo-jin. But when he gets to the crime scene, we just see this grisly murder has taken place. And from here, what I want to talk about is something I've seen online. And it was, I believe, Korean people who have seen this movie. And they were saying that for them, it means so much more because, like, obviously we don't understand the culture, right? And we don't pretend to either. But, like, some of the rooms where these murders take place, like, the fact that it was in that room like means something way more culturally, you know? So it's like, it's scarier on this deeper level to the people who understand the culture in a way that we don't even understand.
So it even adds another level of like evilness to it.
Yeah, it's exactly. So what we were talking about in cultural differences, like that's something that we would not even think of. You know, a murder in the living room doesn't mean anything to us, but maybe it does to
somewhere else.
It's almost like, how dare he, like, you never kill anybody while in the dining room, you know? And then
like you were saying, like, with all respect to their culture, because obviously we don't really know what we're talking about. Is that like it does seem to be more polite and correct in manner. So then when you do have evil, it's like this unspeakable evil,
just
right?
Disrespectful, first of all, before anything.
And like I feel like that's just something we don't understand.
Exactly.
And
I think it's important to bring up the fact that in the murder that happened, you see the murderer is there, like they know who did it, and he is infected with this almost plague-looking like thing.
He looks like a zombie.
Yeah, that plays a big role into what happens in the rest of the film.
So I was getting back to that because we just had a little side tangent. But that scene is also like what I'm talking about, like in the first 15 minutes, right? So we have that scene. We see these little like rotten flowers or mushrooms that kind of look like skulls. You guys notice that? And those are going to play a big part in the entire movie too. And then we cut to a hiker who is like, he found a dead deer and he's going to take it home, and then he falls and he sees what appears to be a demon, a ghost,
some sort of person or something like feasting on this deer.
So we're getting so many different layers of the story. Like we're introduced to like 6 different characters within 15 minutes.
At this point, like I did find interesting on this watch was that he hits his head, right? So then maybe as the audience member, I obviously have seen it already, so I know like where it's going, but it's like, is it because he hit his head that he's seeing things? Is he tripping out? Is he dreaming? And I do find it interesting that we see something eating a deer, and then it faces towards us. Well, actually, no. At first, he loses it, and then he hears the branch go behind him, and he looks up, and it's right above him.
This is one of the most terrifying visuals in movie history. Like, this is the best thing that Attack on Titan could hope for. You know what I mean? Like, that's how ominous it looks. Like, this man looks gigantic. He's reaching over a rock to grab
his eyes are piercing red.
Yeah, exactly.
That's an incredible scene,
and it's so simple,
like an art piece. Yeah, it doesn't look real.
No, it doesn't.
I've never seen anything like it. I gotta say,
it's so simple because it's not like he's wearing too much. He's like just wearing very a cloth, and then his eyes just say so much, you know. And what I was gonna say about that is that at this point you kind of already know that it's the Japanese guy because we've seen him in the intro in the boat, so you're kind of like, okay, like you're kind of like, you've already established that this guy isn't what people think he is, even though we haven't even gotten to that part yet, but you're like, this guy is more than what he seems.
And so that's also within the first 15 minutes, like we're talking about, and like think about how much we've just said.
It's a lot,
right? I will say though too that the horror aspects in this movie, like in the first murder, there's a lot of blood. Like this isn't a movie that is just like, that is slightly blood. Like, oh, they're dead and they're just in the corner. Like, no, their bodies, like there's blood everywhere.
It's horrifying. Yeah.
And so it doesn't hold any regard in that. It doesn't like full gas, no brakes.
Yeah.
You know?
That's what I'm saying. When it leans into the horror aspect of this story, it falls into it. You know
even
what I
mean? The demon introduction like that is like,
it's terrifying.
You know?
Yeah, another point I wanted to bring up is going further with the ambiguity of the movies. We don't know when our main character is dreaming sometimes.
Yeah.
Because at one point within the first 15 minutes, he wakes up from a dream that we don't see. But we also don't know if what we have seen was a dream.
Exactly.
But then also within that first 15 minutes, we see Jung-gu and his partner at the police station, and there's a naked woman outside in the rain, and they get scared shitless.
It's a pretty funny scene.
Yeah, like we'll talk about that too right now, how there's a lot of comedy in this movie. But then he wakes up from that. So then you're like, wait, was that a dream?
And that's what I'm saying when I said earlier, like the way that they edit this movie, it adds into that.
So within we're talking about 2 dream sequences, a demon, an assault, a
murder.
Yeah, a murder. You know what I mean? Like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So I would not put it past anybody if they found this movie slightly confusing the first time. Or I would say, honestly, and I know it sounds cliche and cringy, but like surrender yourself to the movie.
Yeah.
Just like don't try to understand it. Don't think that you're going to have all the answers. Just go into it as a blank slate and let it wash over you.
It gives you enough of an answer when it does towards the end to understand what happened. But then if you want to really break it down, this is a movie that you have to rewatch if you really want to like fully understand what you're going through.
I also think that it's the type of film where if you only understand it on a surface level, that it works just as good as if you fully cinephile nerd mode. You know what I mean?
Let's analyze this.
Yeah, I think that's what makes it such a great movie, and that's what makes a lot of movies great, is that you got the popcorn audience and the so-and-so intelligent people.
The nerds.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But this movie is just, like you said, all gas.
I mean, it is always interesting that, us, because we're watching it as foreigners, we have to, like, quote-unquote, read the movie, you know what I mean? But I always wonder if that also kind of helps me understand. They actually have to see the text and be like, it being, like, because it's translated, maybe if I actually knew Korean, it'd even be more ambiguous. I don't know how much more ambiguous their language is. You know,
turn on the subtitles. I can't hear it.
Yeah,
I can't hear it, brother.
Exactly. But I know like they have like one character is like an expression. You know what I mean? So it's like it'd be very interesting to actually know Korean and see, like you said, like even where the rooms is, all of those other nuances that could be added to it just by actually being Korean. It seems like it. Again, what you're saying, like I get an understanding of it, and I still think it's a really good movie. But I wonder how much better it is if you're actually Korean, or no Korean.
Good point.
Yeah. And then this is where the movie really just takes off.
Yeah.
Right? From here, it's just all gas, like you said. We seeing multiple murders.
Yeah, the murders keep spreading.
Well, okay, so what do you think this is? Like, what is the bigger picture here? Is it a plague? Is the whole area going to be destroyed? Like, what do you think is going to happen past this movie? Like,
oh, honestly, like in terms of like what do you mean?
Okay, so we'll get to the ending of the movie and all that because we have to talk about it. But
Yeah.
what is the bigger play here by the devil or the demon or whatever he is? What do you think is his plan? Like to take over this whole village by
Potentially, like I honestly think like as basic as it probably sounds, like he just represents evil and the way that evil can spread throughout a community. You know what I mean?
poisons the atmosphere.
I mean, exactly. So, I mean, his goal is probably just to keep getting as many people as possible because it from what we learn in the later in the movie, it seems like he's been doing this for a really long time. So
I do think this is just like a battle that's been going on between like almost good and bad that the village just seems to be a victim of, and they're like part of the game in terms of I guess the same religious tones of making them on their team. Are they a bad person? Are they a good person? If they're a bad person, then well, they get killed by the devil, and then whether it's very black or white, but I do think that's just the overarching theme here. It does seem like the village just happens to be victims to the battle.
We talked about the theme of fishing, right? And he just cast out his
fishing
line,
for
right?
souls. Yeah,
and he found this village. So I guess that's one setup, right?
One of the it almost kind of reminds me of like how we're talking about like when we talked about the empty man, like the idea of like you can't like there's nothing you can do about it kind of thing. Like this chooses you.
Yeah.
So I think it's just kind of like, damn, like we didn't necessarily do anything wrong. Like this thing just came here and put this upon us.
It's bigger than just people, right?
Exactly.
Like
I will say, like, the cinematography is really great. So it gives you like this lush green villagey Japan like almost stuck into, or sorry, yeah, Korea, stuck in time. Yeah, stuck in time. Like, so I just almost think this goes back to kind of how we felt about The Witch. It just seems like in a very rural area like this, it just seemed like the devil would be.
This is prime devil real estate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or it's just like you are a victim of battles that have happened before you were even there. This is just like, this is their stomping grounds, you know?
This is some Michael versus Lucifer type shit.
Yeah, and they just happen to be the victims of it. And I mean, you could. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I do think there's just like various examples of how each one of the people, the murders, are just like seem to be the same exact situation up until it gets to our main character.
All right. What I did notice upon rewatch is that I feel like this movie is owes a lot of debt to The Exorcist.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's one big shining influence on this movie.
For sure.
Because for our main character, Jong-gu and his daughter, Hyo-jin, that's what they're like. That's for them, that's the movie they're in.
Yeah.
You know, we talked about that with The Empty Man, like people being in different movies. And even when we talked about The Exorcist, we said like The Wailing is The Exorcist if it was taking place as with the detective as the main character.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. No, straight up. It really. I mean, it is at the core of it a movie about possession. Like it really is.
It's a lot of things.
I mean, it is.
I mean, it's one of those movies too. I don't try to pretend that I understand it really. I just appreciate it so much. It's like staring into the light in the lighthouse.
This is nice.
It's literally melting my mind when I watch it because we just have so many like as ambiguous as this movie is. There's so much batshit crazy things in it.
I mean,
too.
it really is
Like
insane.
we have a zombie in this movie.
There's a zombie in this movie. I mean, like. I don't know. I think it's good because even stuff on like smaller scale, like okay, like we're obviously not gonna be able to cover the entire movie, and we're probably gonna miss some points. But basically, like where it ends up going is his daughter becomes one of these victims, right? And so that's why he gets super engaged in this, and he goes above and beyond being a detective to find out what's going on. And throughout
It's
this,
personal.
yeah, exactly. And in the background of that main focus of him trying to figure out what's going on with his daughter, you have all these other people who are. Develop these symptoms before she does and then start to succumb to them, and you see what happens. Everything ends the same. They get really sick and then they end up murdering their family. So it's almost like
they also get a little Suspiria action of like their bones breaking on their insides. Like, there's some gnarly like supernatural horror shit like
for
that
sure.
too, like body horror stuff.
One of my favorite scenes is when one of these victims is in the hospital and it seems like he's succumbing to his illness, and our main character is there too, and he witnesses him, you know, his bones break and he vomits blood, and it's just a very intense scene. And you just know in the back of our main character's head, he knows that this is going to be my daughter next. So
I'm sorry, I couldn't handle. Oh my god!
I knew exactly he was going to bring it up because I just saw it yesterday, and I wrote that down on my notes too. I was like, that's one of like the best horror scenes I've seen in my life. Just because
at home. Good
I was
lord!
oh my heavens!
Yeah, usually I have to like lie about movies making me fucking like. Oh, I had an actual like emotion to it, but that one I was just kind of like, that would be, because if I did see that, like that's fucking scary.
Or a physical reaction.
Yeah, like I was
saying
like,
emotion. I know you got those.
Yeah, no, but or sometimes I'm like, that was really scary, but it actually, I mean, I wasn't actually scared, but
I'm rolling,
like,
bro.
Yeah,
LOL.
but this like that, like if I saw that, I'd fuck. That's scarring.
The imagery too of the man with his hospital like oxygen
mask
and it's
on.
just like filled with blood.
Yeah. It's a lot.
I think imagery is one avenue we need to go down, because I truly think this is like one of the most gorgeous movies.
It is. Yeah. It's beautiful.
Even though it's very mean spirited.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that's one thing we have learned about Korean movies is that this ain't Hollywood. The ending is not always going to be.
No, you're not right. You're not riding off any sunsets.
No.
I don't know if they're necessarily in the business of making you feel good.
No.
You know?
And that's maybe why they're super enjoyable, because it's unique. It's different than what we're used to.
But their feel good factor is their comedic tone that seems to very like relieve a lot of the tension in this movie at times that you wouldn't necessarily expect it. And I think the scene in the police station where it's raining is probably the one that's like executes that the best, because we're obviously, even that part too, you're like all of a sudden he sees somebody and he's scared, but then the way they react is very realistic but almost comedic in that sense, because like neither of them actually wants to go out there and check. And I think that's like what this movie does really good. And I think Gus had kind of brought up a point that you had seen that like policemen in Korean or in Korea in general are kind of depicted that way, right? In their films.
Well, from every, not that I've seen a ton of movies, but every Korean movie I've seen that involves the police force, they're always a little bumbling. You know what I mean? Like, they're always in over their head versus in a Hollywood movie where somehow in a Hollywood
they're like
movie,
a superhero cop
would shoot the devil.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
exactly.
But in a Korean movie, it's very realistic to the point of like, there's nothing a cop could do about this, so let's stop pretending that they would have even an inkling of an idea.
No, it's so true.
Another aspect I did really like about this movie is that his partner, they're in the police station. He kind of starts like setting him up to think there's something more at play here, and like at the audience at the same time in the beginning of the film. But then very quickly he kind of like puts that shit down. Like I'm saying, like very in modern times, be like, you really think? No, I was just making that up. And then I just think it's funny how they kind of flip roles, and then he kind of goes like, shrooms, shrooms wouldn't do this. Like shrooms couldn't do this. But then all of a sudden you get him like thinking like, well, yeah, that has to be the logical answer, and like looking for logic in a film that has no logic.
Yeah. I always think that the movie's trying to set up this point of like no return. You know what I mean? Like once this has happened to you, there's no going back. Like this is no full circle. Like this is just a line that ends eventually, and the ending is gonna fucking suck.
You've been marked.
It's almost like by the time that you notice he's been stalking you, like she's like the spirit says, it's already been too late, because it's like now you start thinking about it like, oh, I've seen him like 2 other times. This is like the 3rd time I've actually made cognizant that I've seen this guy. And that's another point that I wanted to bring up, that there's a lot of attention to detail in this film from the director, and I think like even how everything looks, like the background and the setting. But even when we get our good spirit, the lady, she's like throwing rocks, right? And like we get a scene where she keeps like stuff happens in between. Like we get introduced to her and we kind of get some more exposition. Then we come back and we see that she keeps continuing throwing rocks, and she gets closer. But what I like is that all of the rocks she's been throwing are still there. It's not like all of a sudden they're all gone. They're all still there. So it's like it very feels like that scene has actually been lived in. That's
part of the ambiguity of the movie too. Is like, oh, okay, well she's our good spirit,
exactly.
Right? So we're gonna just lay that one out now. There's a good spirit and a bad spirit in this movie. The good spirit, when she's throwing the rocks, we have no clue at this point who she is, right? But the rocks are there, so something has happened. And like horror movies will do that, where it's like you kind of have to give us something here to let us know that it wasn't just all fake. Because it would make it a lesser movie, But we see the rocks, and then we see a few other things too throughout that just make you question like, how could this person be a ghost? But there's so many physical, what would you say, like so many physical things have happened that you can't. How could you even explain it? Like it's like the quote in the beginning with like, if I'm a ghost and how do I have flesh and bones and all
exactly
that? Like I'm saying, this movie confuses me. So
it's like if she was a ghost, how could she grab the rock? That's what you're kind of basically saying. How would you throw the rock, and the rock is evidence that it was thrown?
Yeah,
there are a lot of like biblical allusions in this movie. I feel like it opened with the Bible verse, and when I was doing research on it, that rock throwing scene, they used it as an allusion to whatever John 8:7, when Jesus said that he is without sin, is among you, let him cast the first stone on her. So it's almost an illusion, like saying like she is without sin.
She doesn't have sin. See, like those are the undertones that like I didn't need to take that from that scene for me to be like, she's the good spirit. But later it gets explained, and it's like you could just go along with the movie and with what the explanations it gives you. The story makes sense. But that's crazy that you found that out, because that makes sense.
I'm just along for the ride.
Yeah. So like that, just the attention to detail, and that just makes me wonder like what other things are in this movie that they use to show symbolism that I probably haven't even noticed yet or will ever notice.
We're talking about imagery right now, right? And how the movie is very beautiful. Did you notice in the scene where Jong-gu takes his daughter to the riverbank that the old man is across from them?
Yeah.
So that is what, like the second time or maybe the third? That's probably the second time he's seen him, right?
Yeah, because the first time he saw him was at the first murder. He was watching over, and then he notices the Japanese guy looking towards the back, and then I think that's the second time
second time. There's also like a theme of 3 in this movie, right? Because like we have the crows later on. If you see him 3 times,
there's 3 like soy sauce containers too.
Yeah,
3 is like a number that but
it's got a lot of occult.
Yeah,
a lot of occult history tied to the number 3.
Yeah, prime number type stuff.
oh shit, we're 3 people.
Here we go. No, one of my favorite parts too is like when the daughter ends up getting possessed, and like it's nothing too crazy at first, but you do notice that she's really changed. Like even in the small things, like I think even her mom or the grandmother says like she's eating fish, like she doesn't eat fish, and she's like demolishing this fish, and it's almost like she becomes very rude and mean to her parents and just doing things that she's never done before.
This is the Exorcist part.
That's what I was going to say. That's like Reagan. Like, that's her being Reagan. But, I mean, at the time when you're watching it for the first time, you wouldn't really... Like, you know something's off, but you don't really receive it that way. Because she's still very responsive to things that only she would know. It's still her, but, like, as a different attitude of her.
It feels like... the performance that this child actor went through...
She did a really good job.
...is... just as good as Reagan's performance in The Exorcist. And I do think that those two are now, like, this is what we're talking about when we're talking about these scenes, is like, give me this or give me this, and no one else even knows what they're doing.
If not, don't bother. Yeah.
Because I think that's the performance is really good, is you have to bump up her. She starts to become more crude to her parents, you know, and she starts to become more maniacal. She starts saying stuff like, I'm going to kill you guys. And it seems like even her temper starts to get worse. So she starts to become more like a demon, I guess.
One of the most uncomfortable parts of the movie is when the main kid, the father, basically he's like checking her body for like these boils and stuff because he sees that it's getting worse and she's sleeping, and she wakes up in like a very like almost weird voice. She's like, "Oh, touching me in my sleep." You know what I mean? Like it's just super fucking uncomfortable, and you can tell that there's something really bad going on, and it just continues to get worse.
And he's just like taken aback because it is a weird fucking position to be caught in, looking, you know. But it's just the fact that she...
It is, but it's not.
But no, it's like I'm your father.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you know our relationship.
But that's
like,
what I was gonna say, is the fact that she brought it out that it was awkward. Like that's how you know it's not really her. A girl of that innocence wouldn't even think of it that way. It's the fact that there is some evil here, but like you're gonna turn into something that you know it's not. And because obviously that's like just the undertones. Comparing it to Reagan, like the same thing, be like, or like, fuck me, you know, it just goes to that crude shit. The demon knows what's crude.
Exactly. And that kind of takes us to, I'm pretty sure it ends up taking us to where they go and try to find out where this Japanese man lives, right?
Oh, he takes his crew.
Yeah,
you get introduced to his partner's cousin, right? Or nephew?
I think that's what it is. He's like, he's like a father or something in the church?
He's training to be.
Yeah, that's right.
I forgot what the actual terminology
What I thought was interesting about this movie, too, is that it's all based in, like, Christianity.
Right? Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Koreans are pretty, like, a majority of them are Christian.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the power of the
Christ
Crusades,
compels
huh?
you, know.
The power of the Crusades.
But this is where we get the reveal that what we think it is the old man, because they find his house and they end up finding like all these pictures and stuff. You know what I mean? Of all these people, and then they find like trinkets of like something that has been taken from each one of these victims, and that's when he finds the shoe of his daughter. And that's basically where it's confirmed that, all right, or what we think is confirmed, that he's behind this.
The performance by the actor, his name is, hold on, let me make sure I got it right here.
It's Jun Kunimura, I think.
I'm trying. Letterboxd has me fucked up right now. Sorry, guys. But his character name is Song Bak, right?
Oh, okay.
The partner.
Mm-hmm.
His performance in that scene of like when he comes upon the, what would you call it? Like an altar or nest. Like a nest? Yeah, the nest of the man. It's such good acting because he doesn't say anything, but he's saying everything with just his expression. You know what I mean? Like he stumbled upon one of the most disturbing, demonic caves he could think of. You know what I mean? And it's just, for me, that's like one of the best scenes in this movie for sure, is because he's just saying nothing, but he's really, it's saying everything. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think you would feel the same way if you stumbled upon this. You're like, I can't even describe this. I need you to just look at this. It's like, to prove to me I'm not crazy right now. Exactly. I'm actually looking at this.
It's like the way that he talked about how you like in movies. We talked about it with Malignant, when they show like the villain in his workshop.
I need to see the villain doing the work, putting in the work.
So we didn't get him doing the work, but we got the workshop. So it's like stumbling upon the workshop so early on is like, this is fucking weird. Like, this would be very, like, it's just, mind altering, scary.
It's a very tense scene too, because the Japanese man is not there at the time.
Yeah.
And his dog is, though, right? Or and yeah, it's just very anxiety inducing.
So it's like barking the whole time, and it lets loose because
and they have killing his dog.
Well, that's later.
Is that later? Okay.
Because I guess like the nephew, the priest or whatever, was a little too close to the dog, and then the dog actually caught him, and then it just went off the rails. Then it starts to attack them, but then that's when the Japanese guy comes back.
That's when it turns into Cujo for 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And yeah, the Japanese guy, obviously they are that's a whole other thing. Even this movie has cultural differences between themselves. Like they don't really know how to talk to each other, and even the translator doesn't really want to offend. I mean, it's not like he's that fluent in Japanese himself either. He just said he was there when he was young. And it just seems even like he's not even trying to deliver the message of intensity that our main character is to the Japanese guy.
No, it's never going to happen because, like you said, he only has a basic understanding of the Japanese language. So the insults that he's hurling are just not making it, right?
To anybody.
Yeah.
To us only as the audience member.
What do you think at this point, like when you're watching it the first time, did you just feel like, okay, this is really just giving this away that this guy is the evil spirit?
I felt like it was, but then I was also questioning myself because I'm like, there's no way, right? Like there's no way that they're just going to tell you this. Like it's only been like an hour or so.
But I do think that's what I mean, like maybe on the rewatches, but it's like we did get introduced to him literally being a feral beast eating into the deer. You know, it's like we saw him with the red eyes. So, but the movie is just so well written, so that it almost like, was that a dream, though? Kind of like how you said.
At any point, did you ever think that red-eyed beast in the forest was not the Japanese man? Because the very first time I watched it without having any idea, I just thought maybe it's somebody else.
Shapeshifted into him or something?
Yeah, something like that. But
I did
that
think
never
it
crossed
was
your guys' mind?
No, I did think it was him, but like I said, I just almost was ready to be like subverted because it had given that information away so early.
And because this is such a long movie, you already know.
Exactly.
If this is a twist, it's going to be retwisted and reversed.
Which then the movie basically does, but it still stays true to what it is.
I do think it's because you see such a feral beast being like what quote unquote is a demon, and then you see this Japanese guy that doesn't necessarily show anything while like he's with among the people that would signify that it is the same person. Like you're saying, like, well, I think maybe the demon takes shape in him, or when he falls asleep he turns into the demon or something like that. But it doesn't, like, it's such good writing that you almost like, oh, poor Japanese man. Like, he's just trying to be away, like, in his own little fucking hill. And, I don't know. I do think it is weird to see that he would give you, like, it's just playing on what it's been showing you, but it does such a good job of, like, going back and then putting you back on track.
Yeah, because when you're looking at this, like, altar cave thing that he's made in his house, it's so damning, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, how could you think anything else from this point?
Exactly.
And he doesn't even have an answer for it, which makes it look so much guiltier.
Exactly.
Like he's just refusing to participate in this conversation even.
Like I don't understand you, so.
Yeah. No, he's got pictures. He's got literally evidence of the people that have all been murdered. Like it is pretty damning.
Yeah. I mean, maybe this is just part of it because, like, in other Korean movies I've seen with the police, like, and at that point in the movie, he wasn't even on duty, right? So there's literally nothing he could do about it. But it sets up something later where they come back and all this stuff is gone, and it's like you had him right there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of the like Korean police movies I've seen or detective movies, the killer getting away does play a big part in it, where it's like you do know who the killer is within the first like hour or so,
that's true.
and then it's a lot of manipulating of like, fuck, we let him slip out of our fingers.
I will say that I think it plays part that our main character is scared, and everybody that comes across him is scared, because it's like, well, it's not like he murdered any of these people. It'd be like he got them, and they have this weird disease and stuff, and it all started when he came here. But so, because he tells them, he's like, I want you to leave, or you're gonna end up like this, almost like a threat, like, yeah, like, or I'm gonna fuck you up just like this. But in reality, like you said, like, why not just do it now? Because you know it's him. You saw the pictures, be like, and his partner is the one who finds the shoe. So at that point, he doesn't even know that his daughter might be infected, because later in the car is when he reveals, like, look what I found. It's her shoe. And so I think, like, maybe had he known that information, he would have just strike then. But he kind of put his cop cap on and was like, just leave, get the fuck out of here, and then we won't even deal with this. We'll forget about you. Yeah, we'll forget 3 days. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's what it kind of comes from, because it's like he he has powers I don't fucking know. Be like, so can you just get the fuck out of here?
I want to fuck you up, but I think you'll fuck me up, so just leave.
Yeah, exactly. Which, I mean, is reasonable thinking, obviously, based off what he's done.
Do you mind if we talk about the shaman?
That's exactly where it goes.
That's where it goes.
We're leading
next,
to.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, the only important part is that, like, I was going to say is that, like, what's his daughter's name?
Hyo-jin.
Hyo-jin, like, she does tell him that she did meet the Japanese guy, but then that's kind of like where she starts to turn into not giving him any more answers. She's like, why the fuck does it matter? And just kind of starts going off on him. And then that's when it comes to the suggestion of the grandma that she's asked to the neighbor that we need to hire the strongest shaman, which is what apparently everybody else has been doing too.
Mm-hmm. Oof.
He's a tight character.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love him as a character. I don't like him as a person.
I do think this is probably where we need to start letting loose on the spoilers, because he himself is a gigantic spoiler for the movie.
He is.
Right? The shaman comes to their little village, right? And he's gonna do he's gonna do his ritual to what would appear to purge her of the evil
for
spirit.
10 G's.
Yeah.
That's expensive.
Well,
Right.
first of all, he's like, he kind of just walks in, right, and he kind of just feels it out. He just kind of knows something's not wrong
like,
here.
yeah.
Something's wrong here.
Yeah, my favorite one of those ever in history is Paranormal Activity, when they invite the bruja over and she walks in and she's like, "Nah, I'm good." And she just leaves. She's like, "Nah. No amount of money is. I'm not dying tonight. Goodbye."
He was like, 10 G's.
Yeah.
The spirits are telling me
10
that 10 grand should do it.
It's going to be really hard. I've never done this before. So 10 G's.
Yeah.
And always have a hot meal prepared when I get here. The spirits beckon it.
Man, and these are some of the that's like one of the craziest scenes in the movie, I think.
These are really tense.
Yeah.
Hardcore filmmaking moments where everything is just like ratcheted up at this point. If you're watching this at a certain volume, this is where it becomes one of those movies of like, what are you watching in there?
Yeah, exactly. Like, what is that?
This is gave me the same feeling that we got for the raid and Ron. You know, be like, let me just sit back and watch what the fuck is happening.
Yeah.
Like, this is amazing that you could capture it this way. So much tension, shots between the flames, the dancing going on, the music. It's just so much going on, and it's so it's the word I'm looking for. Like, I don't know. I lost.
You become enthralled with it, honestly.
Yeah. So sorry, when we talked about Suspiria, and I said in the ending I didn't like the editing choice.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like The Wailing proves my point of why it's much more uncomfortable and unsettling when
see.
it's just in
real speed.
Regular speed, yeah, exactly. Like you're saying, you can cut to all these different shots and show them, and when you have to look at it for like 5 seconds, and it just really hits you, like how disturbing it is what you're watching, because what we see Hyo-jin go through,
It's
like
horrible.
this exorcism,
Her bones
what
are
we think we're
breaking.
seeing
Yeah.
It's just hard to watch, especially because it's a little kid.
And I will say, just kind of because the audiences know, like, if it's bouncing back between also the Japanese guy is also doing a ritual, and they're kind of, it seems like they're battling each other. So it like the way that it cuts to the Japanese guy and then the shaman, and then it cuts to her face crying, and then it cuts to the flame, and then it cuts to the beat of the drum, and then
Well, hold on. Does it do that twice? Because that's in the second one. You know how they do 2 rituals? They do the daytime one and then the nighttime
yeah.
one?
Oh, yeah.
What you're
I'm
talking
sorry.
about is
Yeah.
during the nighttime
you're
one.
right. Yeah, you're right.
Which
I got ahead of
happens pretty
myself.
much like right after that, but
But they have the 10G. The 10G ceremony is the night.
it's
one.
the night one. Yeah, he comes
Exactly.
there, he feels it out, he does the little daytime thing, and he's like, "No, you owe me $10,000. We're gonna do this shit at night, basically."
The
That's
dog hour.
yeah,
that's when he walks
yeah,
up
exactly.
That's when he walks in and he just knows. He's like, what is that? He's like, it's a soy sauce container. And he's like,
So I'm happy that you brought that up, because when I did the first time that I saw it, and I was just doing like all the research I could on it, because I just was super curious about what people thought about the movie, is apparently that, like, the crow with the soy sauce is used in some cultures to ward off evil spirits.
That's what I was going to say.
I
The
mean,
good spirit put it
So the
Yeah.
good spirit put it there, and so he's like basically taking all away these protections that the good spirit has put up, and like not knowing the culture, not knowing that's something you never know. Like, you see a crow in soy sauce, you're like, that's nasty.
I
a
seen the
curse.
lighthouse. That was a bad
Yeah,
omen.
exactly. Like, never kill a seabird. But so it's just like the deeper that, like I say, that you get in this movie, like, it's really everything's there, but it just doesn't. It shows you. It doesn't tell you.
I mean, I think they kind of touch on that, right, in the movie, that it's a good omen for the sheep. She said that in there. I think they kind of touch on. I caught that.
I don't think that they talk. I don't know if they talk about that because he just says that a bad spirit put this here. I don't know if that's ever talked about again. Maybe it is.
Have we gone over this yet, though? That the girl who was throwing the rocks?
Yes.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
You did.
She's our good spirit, right?
Which, again, at this point, we don't know that. This is a reveal that we get later on, but then
Like the very end of the movie.
Literally.
Yeah.
And so during the night exorcism, the big Tenji Daddy exorcism, like this is what I was talking about, where the movie, its editing choices, I think is really used to confuse you and make things way more ambiguous, because you get this like ceremony, and it's basically cutting back and forth between the shaman doing the ceremony and then the Japanese man doing a ceremony on somebody that has killed their family, like one of these people that he's had a hold on.
He had stumbled across him earlier.
Exactly. And so it's almost like you don't really know what's going on, and the way that it's edited and plays out, it seems like that this ritual is taking down the Japanese man because he's becoming weak, and he ends up passing out. And then when we see Hyo-jin suffering throughout this whole exorcism, like her bones are snapping and she's screaming and she's asking her dad to make it stop. So finally he does, like he knocks over everything and the ceremony ends. And that's when you see the Japanese man like come back to it kind of. And so in my head, the first time I see it, I'm like, damn, like you fucked up the ceremony, my guy. Like you had him again. But like full spoilers, like going here on out, just a heads up if you haven't seen it.
Sure.
The shaman is in cahoots with the Japanese man, and he like whatever their ceremony does, like I don't know exactly what it does to these people except for torture them.
So what I saw is that it's warding off the good spirits.
Okay, and it's like installing the evil back in her body or something.
Exactly.
And then what was so brilliant about the editing is the old man was doing his own type of seance or ceremony to bring this person that he had a hold on back to life and turn him into this zombie that we see in the next scene. So, but without knowing that, without seeing the movie, like it's really ambiguous.
I did even find it interesting because as he kind of like survived his ritual, the Japanese guy is kind of like laying on his bed, and the good spirit walks by, and he gets frightened too. And so I think that's like kind of what Gus said. I had seen that it was to ward off the good spirits. It's like, is she out there because she was avoiding the ceremony, and then I kind of like, well, he stopped it, so like now I'm like kind of letting him know like now it's on. You know what I mean?
From his point of view, the Japanese man, the evil spirit. What was I gonna say? That it's kind of like he just lost too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like it's actually like a lose-lose.
Yeah, nobody wins.
Because Jong-goo's family is now more fucked because they were going to be more fucked regardless.
Yeah.
It was just playing a trick on us, right?
It just took 10 G's from them.
Because the evil spirit, I feel like the ritual to bring the guy back to life was like sucking out his life force.
Yeah, that's exactly what I feel.
The editing is what makes it seem like it's the
battle
war
against each other. That scene
right?
is so good, dude. There's so much that happens.
But
in
then we
scene.
see because he's in such a weakened state that the good spirit was like warded off that they're gonna have a confrontation eventually. So it was just it's such good editing too because it does really the first time I was just like, what the fuck?
I know
just happened,
that's my
right?
favorite part of the movie. It really is
because you have no reason to distrust the shaman at this point. I mean, just as our main character doesn't, because we're running out of options, and at this point it is witchcraft. Obviously, it's not anything plausible. So he reaches out to the shaman, which I found interesting that every person was using.
Yeah, exactly.
That's part of how this evil is spreading throughout the village. Everybody thinks that they're getting cured, but they're actually getting like even more hex.
Because like that sounds like what you guys talked about. We get that reveal later, and then that's when you watch the movie a second or third time. You see that all these clues are set there, like in terms of even the skull flowers that we're talking about. There, every time they go to a house, there's some there, but the good spirit is the one that sets those up,
and they look evil as fuck.
And so well, they look evil as fuck because they give into evil.
Yeah.
If they waited for the three fucking crows of the rooster, they wouldn't turn to evil.
I simply would have waited for the crows.
Yeah, exactly.
But none of them wait. That's then like I think that's like obviously I'm getting ahead of myself, but I think that's That's like the overarching theme of this fucking
Well, I
movie.
understand that, but why would you trust her either?
I mean, you have no idea.
Trust anybody? You're just gonna go with your instinct.
Exactly, and that's what this movie's so good. But after this is basically like when you have, you know, our main character, the father, just decide like, fuck this, we're going back up to his mountain house, so we're gonna, you know, we're gonna do whatever we gotta do.
Let's just murder him.
Yeah, like let's go kick his ass. So he brings a whole fucking squad, like people in the back of the truck, to go get him, and then they arrive, and that's where we get the zombie that he resurrected from the ceremony the previous night.
Korean zombie.
And you get some weird, like, this little zombie attack.
Like the UFC fighter, Korean zombie.
Is that his nickname?
You don't know about that guy?
No.
Oh, there's a UFC fighter, and that's his nickname, is Korean Zombie.
Oh, no, I didn't know. I just, because I was telling him, I was like, we're zombies, but Korean.
No.
And then you get the, you know, there's a chase scene between this group of people, the citizens and the father against the Japanese man, and they end up kind of losing him like off this edge of this hill, right? And then they kind of leave like defeated, like, well, we didn't get him, but you know, who knows?
It's like a tragically sad moment.
And dude, he breaks down.
Yeah.
Broken at this point.
He breaks down.
He's let this guy get away now, 3 times?
Yeah.
And his daughter is just succumbing to the madness of this thing. So we just get this really emotional scene of him literally breaking down
on the edge of a mountain.
Yeah,
it's
like
like
you think he's gonna fall off.
Yeah, you really do.
I guess it's a little backtracking. His friend that's on, like, his main friend in the mob. Don't know his character name too well. Earlier in the film, kind of gives him an explanation for the rash and how his wife also like saw the lady who was naked that we saw naked at the police station outside of it. How she has a connection with the Japanese man, and how later we kind of see that. Wait, I was getting kind of confused actually. No, I was getting the characters confused, but that he's kind of like knows that it's something supernatural from the get-go, because him and his wife is like, there's just something going on here that makes no sense, and he's one of the convincing factors for the main character to know, but like, we should just go kill this guy.
I know, he's like, would I lie?
Yeah.
And that's why later I feel like that's why he goes there, because he's like, this guy get to be like, that we just have to go end this evil.
Can we talk about how the guy gets struck by lightning before?
That shit's crazy too.
We have to talk about that. Like, a guy literally gets struck by lightning in this movie. There's zombies in this movie.
Yeah.
There's ghosts and evil spirits in this movie. So this movie's going full horror, like a little bit of everything.
It really does.
But we don't have to dwell on that. I just thought we should
that part's crazy.
It's the same guy who ate shit while putting the deer on his back.
Yeah.
He's down bad.
Yeah, he's down bad.
Buddy,
and there's a little
secure yourself.
Yeah, I mean, there's a
Stay
little
inside.
Secure the footing before you make any choices.
There's a little bit of a comedic relief from that. With I think it's his mom or something related to him. He drinks all those elixirs for what? Just to die.
To get struck
Just
by
to get
lightning.
Struck by lightning.
Yeah.
So back to the cliffside.
Yeah, back to the cliffside. So they kind of leave disappointed because they lost this Japanese man, and they start driving away, right? And I think we've seen the lady in white, like, in the bushes or whatever when the old man was kind of hanging off the edge of the cliff. And they're driving away, and all of a sudden something just fucking falls on top of their windshield when they're driving. And it's a Japanese man. And he fell off the side of the fucking cliff, I guess. And they end up, instead of doing anything about it, they kind of just throw him off the edge of the cliff that they're on and just take off, and they think that he's dead. Which
First good casualty of texting and driving.
Exactly. Which ends up taking us basically kind of to the finale of the movie, I feel like, or at least the beginning of the climax, where you see the shaman who's leaving, you know, the city and going back to the wherever he's from. And he gets hit with like a plague of locusts and all this stuff, and you just like feel like, you know, there's something else going on. Like, apparently the Japanese man is dead, so what's really going on?
This leans more into the ambiguity of like, the Japanese man is dead, so this should all start going away, right?
But it apparently gets worse.
Then it's like, okay, well, is the quote unquote good spirit doing this? So
and then
it kind of takes a twist.
Exactly, and you get a phone call from the shaman to the father, basically saying like, I fucked up and I misread the spirit. It was not the Japanese man; it's the lady in white. Have you ever seen her before? Kind of thing. And then, you know, we have no idea what the hell is going on. We don't know who to believe at this point.
They've done a good job to this point of doing enough things to make you wonder, like, are either of these people even good spirits, or is this two evil spirits kind of going to war over this family? Because we see the woman in white wearing a bunch of different outfits or pieces of clothing from all the different victims. Like, she's wearing the zombie guy. She was wearing his jacket at one point. Later on, we see her with the daughter's hair clip, right? We see her wearing a red nighttime jacket that a woman in a restaurant who was wearing that we saw was infected.
Woman of the night.
Yeah, a woman of the night. Yeah. She had many gentleman callers.
Yeah, exactly.
How about the scene where the shaman comes like face to face with the lady in white?
Yeah.
And he just starts vomiting blood and all that.
So how did you take that the first time?
That's where I was almost like,
she's evil too.
is she evil? Like that's right. You start to flip, I feel like. And this is like, because I think this guy's dead and now this is terrifying. So I didn't really know what to believe at this point. But yeah, dude, that scene always grosses me out.
You know how before you're kind of talking about like why he chooses to go through the shaman? It's because everybody starts telling him that the man up there is a ghost, like that man's not real. But then he kind of, the main character the whole time questions like, I've never seen a ghost who actually has like a body, you know. And I think this whole time, even us, like kind of like, is it like we never kind of get the answer? Is it a ghost? Is it a demon? You know. And then we see her too. And then it isn't up until this reveal that we guys are talking about that you start to see like actual physical appearances to them. Be like, oh, they're not ghosts. They're something else. Or they're there, but they are different type of spirits than even we're used to depictions of on screen. It's something different than that.
For sure. And then yeah, I mean, it basically kind of it sets up the big finale, which it puts John Gu in a position where he comes face to face with the lady in white. And she kind of gives him her spiel from her side of things, and she tells him that, no, like, I'm here to help you, and I've been trying to help people, and basically, like, tells him that everything will be okay, and your daughter will be free of this wickedness as long as you wait until, like what we've been saying, the third crow of the rooster. And after she tells him this, he gets a phone call from the shaman, and the shaman, that's when he tells John Gu that, no, like, I fucked up, it's the lady in white. Have you, like, seen her? And he's like, I'm looking right at her kind of thing.
This is also intercut with the priest, or his name's Yang Yi Sam.
Yes.
We get the reveal that the Japanese man is still alive.
He is still alive because he goes back to his hut.
Stories at once going on. So this scene,
it's a lot.
So much.
The editing, yeah.
This poor guy got his cheek bit off by the zombie.
Yeah, we didn't even dwell on that.
I know.
He got his cheek bit by the zombie. Goes to the hospital, and then he's like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going to go make sure that this ghost or whatever it is actually
Took
dead.
off his white collar.
Yeah, he's like,
Thinking he was like, you know, thinking he was going to be the savior of the day. And then lo and behold, he does go to the house and there's nothing there, obviously, but he sees fire kind of like in the cave a little far away. So he's like, let me go see what that's all about. And so he goes.
Yeah, and I mean, it's honestly a horrifying reveal, like what we talked about with South Korean, especially horror cinema and their thriller cinema. Happy endings don't really seem to be a thing. I mean, not necessarily that there's happy endings in American horror movies, but not quite like this, I would feel like. So basically, John Gu, like, he
doesn't wait.
No, he doesn't. Like, what ends up convincing him basically not to go is he sees the hair clip. Yeah. And she has that the lady in white has of his daughter, and he doesn't
touch her anymore.
And he walks through his front gate basically, and you see like the string of flowers that's on everybody else's door stand, just like turns black and dies. And he walks into the house, and it's a terrifying murder scene. It's grisly like all the other ones.
It's a roll of the dice too, like him not trusting
like
the good
who to
spirit.
Trust.
Yeah, so it isn't as obvious as you think as the viewer of like, well, why wouldn't you listen to her about the third crow of the rooster? Because you don't know what the clothes mean. And I guess what I've taken away from it is like it's a piece of clothing from the people she tried helping.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of how John Gu sees it, like maybe it's because he's a cop and it's like how murderers take a piece of their like a trophy with them, you know what I mean? So it's like she's collecting all these items from the people she's cursed, but it really is just like a crap shot. He had no way of knowing which person to trust.
Exactly. Because, yeah, you literally have this guy in your ear who, why would you think that he's in bed with the evil demon? You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
It's because this movie does a good job of, like, the seance or the chant or the spell to entrap the person, either good or bad, is exactly the same. So I was like, how am I supposed to know which one's good and which one's bad?
Yeah.
They both take an object from the person and then use that to protect them or hurt them. So as the person, a regular person, you wouldn't know. So it is, we know this now because we're talking about it, but it is very, like, the characters given the choice, and they both seem just as dangerous or as safe.
And in case you had like any further questions on like who was who or like who was really the evil spirit, is when it cuts back to our priest who's in the cave, and he basically asks the Japanese man like, "Let me see your final form."
And
like,
I'll leave you alone.
Yeah, and he's like, "All right, well, who the fuck said I was going to let you leave?" And then it cuts back to him in his as a demon taking a picture of our priest,
The Minolta camera.
and which is
Literally, row.
It's
A demon with a camera.
I literally was watching it, brother. I was like, that guy's literally me.
Ladies, he doesn't actually mean that.
And so, yeah, it's an absolutely tragic ending. And we also see the shaman packing up his things, and he has all the pictures from the guy's house.
Well, what we do see first is that he's taking pictures of the grisly crime scene.
True.
Right? And we also find out that our protagonist is basically cooked at this point.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Barbecue chicken.
Yeah, barbecue chicken for Hyojin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She just desecrated and tore up her entire family in a matter of seconds. Wonderful performance from this demon.
Yeah.
We get the very disgusting, I guess is the word, reveal that this is the devil. Not even just a demon, but this is the devil
Himself.
Some of the worst, or some of the best, I guess it depends what you're, like yellow eyes I've seen. Very like haunting. And yeah, like this battle is just going on in between these two spirits, and they just kind of take host, I guess, to have a showdown.
Yeah, unfortunately. But what do you think taking the pictures means? Like, why do they do that? Do you think it's as simple as like the idea that a photograph
Takes
can
their
like steal
soul?
your soul?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe, or honestly, like it might just be like he
Trophy?
likes him. You know what I mean? Like this is just keeps a
Gets off
record
on
of
that
every.
stuff.
I mean, maybe
Because
I don't know.
The time that he starts taking pictures of the priest, he is just kind of laughing, and we do see that both of them have the same kind of camera, and the shaman and the devil. And that's kind of again playing on like these two are in it together.
That's the most heavy-handed thing in the whole movie.
Yeah, is that they have the
Is
same
that
camera,
you for sure need to know that if you don't understand anything else. Is
and
that,
he has his pictures.
yeah, that this shaman and this devil are working together. That's the only concrete thing in the entire movie, really.
There is, which is funny because there's a deleted scene. There's an alternate ending that I'm happy they didn't do, but it does confirm it. Is basically what happens is on the side of the road, like in the middle of nowhere, the Japanese guy is sitting there and he's like making faces at these kids at a bus stop or something, and then the shaman comes and picks him up.
Oh,
So that
See,
would have been
that's kinda
extremely
weak,
heavy-handed.
though,
Yeah, so
Well, it's just emphasizing a point we already know.
exactly.
If it was the other way around and it was meant to say it was, oh, I saw that in that scene. It's like, and then the woman in white like watches on, and it's like alludes that this battle's just
It's gonna
keep
continue,
going
it's just gonna
forever,
move, yeah.
right? But it cements something that was already cemented. It's like
Exactly.
pouring more cement on dry cement already.
And that's-
what do we need that for?
I don't think it would have fit in this movie because, like we keep talking about, that's what this movie does well. Is it does keep you kind of in the dark, and it doesn't just flat out be like, "Yep, that's what it is." So I'm happy they didn't do that.
the difference in between movies you're talking about, like the endings being Hollywoodish, is that it didn't matter what they did; they were going to be victims of the. Like the movie just ends like, yeah, they died anyways. They couldn't do anything about it. But usually in like a Hollywood, one person makes it out.
Yeah.
Or they defeat it. Or they understand it and they live to tell people how to survive. But everybody here dies.
It's cosmic, bro.
Yeah,
Like,
dude.
It really
it's
is.
gnarly. It's a very, like, I mean, obviously we just kind of went through the whole movie. It's a lot. Like it is, and it's jam packed full of shit that I think upon every viewing you're gonna notice for the first time. And I absolutely love movies like that.
Like this time that we watched it for the pod, I noticed there's like a nest in the first murders.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
Yeah, it
And it's
is.
like, well, like what is like evil is born type thing, you know? There's all of those subtleties, like what you were talking about, the throwing of the rocks and how it alludes to the biblical, the Bible. Yeah, those are all like the stuff that on rewatches you catch and you're like, oh, I see. Kind of just.
I'm gonna wait till I'm smarter to understand this movie. But for now, I enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, it's a great movie. If you haven't seen it, I mean, this is probably one that maybe is one that people really haven't seen as much compared to some of the other movies that we've talked about. So, I mean, yeah, if you haven't seen this shit, like, check it out. It really is a phenomenal piece of art, let alone a scary movie. I think it's super unique, like we talked about. Like, I feel like it borrows from a lot of things and it kind of transforms it into its own. And it does it phenomenally.
Well, I don't think we had even brought up the director's name yet, so shout outs to him. His
Yeah.
name is Na Hong-jin. You made one of the greatest movies of all time. So thanks
Congratulations,
for that.
sir. Yeah, that's fucking impressive.
Please give us more, sir.
Yeah.
Any closing thoughts other than that, Nate?
I don't think so, man.
Yeah, this is almost the same way about other movies that we've talked about. They're just kind of underrated. The Empty Man was the other one that comes to mind. Yeah, like if it's on HBO Max, this movie's easily accessible.
Damn, was it? I rented it.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, did you? Yeah,
It's on HBO Max.
I'm pretty sure.
Damn.
That's where I watched it. I was gonna say, if you haven't checked out any foreign film, South Korean films is a great place to start. I think they're one of my favorite, like, storytelling, like, I guess you would call it formulas. But I just think especially their culture is so much different than ours that I kind of take different things from their films. And I think they're a little bit more grounded in being an actual person.
All right. Well, I don't really have too many closing thoughts, to be honest.
Fair enough.
I'll leave it to you guys. So the horror movie bracket has been fun.
It is done.
It is done.
We finished our first bracket.
If you're listening to this, I probably have not slept, and I'm probably elbow deep in baby poo.
Might be.
So thank you guys for taking part in this. This sure was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Hopefully I don't have to have another kid for us to do something like this again. But this was a really good time, and the more I think about it, the more I understand The Wailing being number one. So I think this movie, too, needs to be just, if you say you like horror movies, this should be one of those ones.
It should be in your frame of reference, yeah.
Like, this is a big one. So thank you guys for doing this. This is a ton of fun, and I hope the people who are listening to this had fun, and they smash all the buttons.
Me too. Smash them all.
All right.
Until next time.
Catch you guys later.
Bye.